So today we're going to be talking about, observations of body tissues using the microscope. I leave for you to read the introduction, just a few comments. So levels of organization, I talk about it in the lecture. Cellular, tissue, organ system. So different cells comprise the tissue, tissues comprise the organ, organs comprise the system, and systems comprise the organism. So we're going to talk first about epithelial tissue. Epithelial is the barrier, okay? It's on top of something. So epithelial tissues, they lie in cavities, they provide the barrier, and they participate in the processes of absorption, protection against abrasion, and secretion of substances. Various glands are composed of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissues can be classified based on the number of layers. If only one layer, there's going to be simple here, simple, and or multiple numbers, like here and here and here. And they can be classified based on the shape of the cells. So squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. Here you can see flat squamous cells, cube-like cuboidal cells, and elongated columnar cells. Some of the unique sort of structures, transitional epithelium. In this case, cells can accommodate stretch. Pseudostratified epithelium, although it is a single layer of the cells, it may appear like two layers. So I try to connect nuclei with these lines. So epithelial tissue on the microscope. Let's take a look at this tissue. You see multiple layers of the cells, so it means that it's stratified. And the cells are pretty flat, which means it's squamous, stratified squamous. And I'm going to show you the microscopic image of the stratified squamous epithelium. You see multiple layers. You see multiple layers. Let's see if I can annotate it. So one layer, multiple layers here. So we can tell by, the fact that cells are flat. So skin and vaginal epithelium, they are very similar. So this is the protective layer of cells. Multiple layers provide a good protection against abrasion. The outermost layer can be shed and replaced by the cells coming from the bottom layers. Now, epithelial cells here, this one or this one or this one, they look more like cuboidal, and the number of layers is essentially it's one layer. So it's a simple cuboidal epithelium, one layer, cube-like looking. Cell shape, cells are bigger, so this shape of the cell can accommodate various organelles that produce substances and store substances and secrete substances. Now here is simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple cuboidal epithelium, you can see again layers of the cells. I highlight them here. And this is the trachea. You can see what appears to be two layers of the cell, but in fact there's only one. So this is a pseudostratified epithelium. You can see cilia on top, so it's ciliated. So cilia, that we just demonstrated here, cilia, what do you think cilia plays what role? Cilia in respiratory tract moves mucus upwards towards your larynx, where you swallow the mucus laden with dust and microbes, and all that is neutralized in your stomach. So epithelial cells in that photograph are columnar, And the epithelium is pseudostratified because there's only one layer of cells, but you can see them as having two layers. Let me see if I can find pseudostratified. Yes, pseudostratified here. So you can see two pseudo layers, and here is the cilia on the surface. That's the actual pseudostratified epithelium of trachea, photograph taken at 400x magnification. Small intestine, here you can see very clearly a single layer of cells, microvilli on top. Cells are elongated, which means it's a columnar and it's simple epithelium. Now the absorption, why is this type epithelium is well suited for absorption? A really huge surface area on top of each cell, and clear distinction between the apical and the basal surfaces of the cell allows for the proper creating the proper gradient, so chemicals can be absorbed, diffused along the concentration gradient into the underlying tissue. Now here are muscles. So muscle fibers can be skeletal, can be cardiac, can be smooth. So if you look at the skeletal muscle fiber, it's long and straight with multiple nuclei, and it is striated. You can see the stripes. It's voluntarily controlled. Now, cardiac muscle can be found in the heart. It's branched, as you can see. Usually there is one nucleus per cell. There are still striations, and it's involuntarily controlled. Cells are separated by intercalated discs, like this one, that allow the communication between the cells. And here you can see the smooth muscle cells. They spindle-shaped with a single nucleus, no striations, which suggests a different mechanism of contraction. And they are controlled involuntarily. So this is here a typical cardiac muscle. You see the intercalating discs here. Cells are branched and striated, and I can show you the cardiac muscle here. Somewhat similar appearance. Quality of the image, unfortunately, does not allow us to see the striations better. But if you look really close, you can appreciate that there are striations and multiple nuclei, like this one. Now it's going to be cardiac muscle. It's going to be cardiac muscle. Striations, yes. Intercalated discs, yes. You can label the nuclei. So nuclei are pushed to the side. They're usually uninucleated. And it is found, of course, in the heart. So this is the striated, straight cells, many nuclei. So it's definitely a skeletal muscle. Striations, no intercalated discs. We labeled nuclei, multinucleated muscles. It's found in the skeletal muscles. Well, when it contracts, your bones move. And this is a smooth muscle. Okay, no striations, no intercalated discs. These are nuclei, they uninucleated, and when it contracts, the various hollow organs like blood vessels, they become more narrow, or narrower or bigger, whatever. Basically, it allows for propulsion of liquids. Okay. Nervous cells. So here you can see a neuron, a main transmitter of the signals, and various neuroglial cells that support the neurons. So this is the typical nervous tissue. Oh, let me show you the skeletal, that smooth muscle. You can see spindle-shaped cells. And this is a skeletal muscle. Okay. Skeletal and cardiac are somewhat hard to distinguish, but in the cardiac, not at this magnification, you can sometimes see intercalated discs. So let's talk about nervous tissue. I'm going to show you the image of the nervous tissue. So it's nervous tissue, a typical neuron. So that's the body, and that's the axon, the neuron, that's another axon, and those nuclei here, 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 those are nuclei of the glial cells. So this is the body of the neuron, those are dendrites, and this is an axon. Neuroglial cells, you can label any of these nuclei to label neuroglial cells. Now connective tissues, that's blood. Not sure if I have blood, but you can see red blood cells and you can see white blood cells. Blood, interestingly enough, is a connective tissue. Let me see if I have cartilage. No, I don't think I have blood here, but that's fine. Blood is the connective tissue. It's a fluid connective tissue. And since blood delivers, it's fluid because it's liquid, obviously. Extracellular matrix will be all the plasma here between the white blood cells, that empty space. And since blood delivers various substances all over the body, it's essential for it to be fluid to successfully move around the body. So here we're talking about the cartilage, the hyaline cartilage. Okay, you can see the chondrocytes, individual chondrocytes in the lacunae. This white stuff are chondrocytes. Extracellular matrix is this pink stuff. Cartilage is a supportive connective tissue. It's actually considered to be specialized connective tissue. And hyaline cartilage found in various joints, in the rib cage, tip of the nose. So it is resilient enough to provide mechanical protection and support for your nose, for instance, or to protect the ends of the bones in your knee, or to attach sternum to your ribs. But it's at the same time flexible enough for your nose to, well, be flexible. This is a dense, let me show you hyaline cartilage before we move on. It's a hyaline cartilage. You can see actual image of, individual chondrocytes. So that's a chondrocyte, that is a chondrocyte. And in between the chondrocyte, that's basically a matrix. Not this is the chondrocyte. This is the chondrocyte that here would be a matrix. Now next we have a tendon, which is a dense regular connective tissue. You can see collagen fibers going in one direction. So these are fibroblasts that produce the protein fibers. It's a dense fibrous connective tissue because collagen fibers are densely packed. Okay, and since these fibers are densely packed and aligned in parallel, they can withstand unidirectional tension very well, and they allow muscles to pull on the bones via tendons, or allow ligaments to connect bones. So this high density of protein fibers and proper alignment allows tendons to withstand that massive unidirectional pulling force. And let's see if we can find dense elastic. Yeah, that's dense, not dense elastic. That's dense regular connective tissue. You can see nuclei of fibroblasts and individual fibers going through. So once we're done with the tendons, we can move on to adipose tissue. Here you can see individual cells, they're filled with fat. In this particular cell you can see a nucleus pushed all the way to the side. So this is an adipocyte. The vacuole that is filled with fat droplets, like this one, is a nucleus, and the rest of it is the vacuole. Okay, so this is a vacuole, and this is the nucleus. Adipose tissue is the loose fibers because it's pretty loose and there are not a lot of connective tissue fibers like collagen. Adipose tissue is basically found in fat, and it's filled with fat, so it stores energy and cushions. Now, this is a bone, compact bone. Some structures that we can label lacunae. Those are lacunae. So inside of this lacunae are osteocytes, the bone cells. Extracellular matrix is anything outside of that lacunae. Compact bone, obviously, is a supportive connective tissue because it supports, and the structure of compact bone reflects its function because those individual structural units called osteons, they bunch together, providing a compact bone a great deal of strength and mechanical resilience. So this is the areolar connective tissue. Okay, protein fibers, that's elastic fiber. Those are, like, these are thick collagen fibers. You see the cellular nuclei, that's another cell that you can see. It's a loose fibrous tissue. The main function of areolar connective tissue is to cushion. So low density of protein fibers compared to tendons. So areolar tissue is not resilient to mechanical stress, but it doesn't have to be because its main function is to surround the organs and cushion them, protectively cushion them. So chemical, cellular, obviously tissue level. What type of muscle tissue is found within the digestive tract? Involuntary control, hollow organs, so it's going to be smooth. Muscle under involuntary control. This is the stratified cuboidal epithelium, obviously. Tendons connect, okay. Cartilage connects, and even adipose tissue, it connects the deeper tissues in the body, like muscles, to the skin. Tendons connect muscles to the bones, and cartilage connects muscles. So this is branched unicellular striated cells, are definitely cardiac. So this is how we can tell branched unicellular striated cells. Gland. Glands are composed of epithelial tissue. Gland can be a pancreas, thyroid gland, thymus, pituitary gland, or testes, the gonads. Let's take a look. So this is the smooth muscle tissue, obviously. This is a nervous tissue. This is blood, so it's connective tissue, and that's a stratified squamous epithelium, which is a epithelial tissue. Now, a couple of structures that I wanted to mention. We talked about the adipose tissue and the bone and areolar connective tissue. So now let's take a look. So this is the loose areolar connective tissue. See a whole bunch of pretty loose fibers. You can more or less see the nuclei here and there. It's adipose tissue. You can barely see nuclei pushed to the sides of the cell. Cells are filled with fat. And we're going to get to the bone in a second. Should have a bone. No, do not have. No, I don't think I have a bone. But yeah, that's a bone. So you've got osteon and another osteon. That's an actual image of an actual bone slide. So that'll be it. And please fill out the lab handout and upload it on the Blackboard.